Hello and welcome to D20 Woodworking, and today we are doing a preview of the newest announced hero for Marvel Champions, the card game, and that is Gambit. So we're going to go through the cards that are announced, we're going to talk a bit about it, and just some of my general overall thoughts and feelings. So let's let's jump to the announcement page. All right, so here's the page. You can read all this stuff for fun. fun. I generally don't go through it, but let us start with Gambit's alter ego, which is Remy LeBeau. LeBeau. I'm going to mispronounce a lot of things in here, so I apologize right up front. But Remy has a 3 recovery. He's a mutant thief, and he has Thief Extraordinaire. It's an action thwart on the alter ego side, which is really cool. But he comes with 6 hand size, 9 hit points. But exhaust Remy LeBeau and look at the top 2 cards of the encounter deck. Discard one of those cards. Remove threat from a scheme equal to the number of boost icons on that card, which is really cool. That if you pick up like shadows or something like that, right, you can not only get rid of shadows, but it lowers the threat too by like 2 or whatever shadows is. This is a really cool card. It's really cool that they're exploring already more with alter ego stuff, especially threat reduction, because this helps a lot in solo, especially when you're down. You flip down, right? You could throw it a little bit off before the villain schemes, and then your next turn you could do it again, right? That's pretty cool, right? It's really cool that they're doing this, and plus then you'll know the next card that's going to be coming out. It'll probably be for the villain activation, but still you know the next card and what to expect for, so that's really cool. So instead of going to the hero, they actually talk more about alter ego cards, which is really cool. I'm happy that they're exploring this space. But it's a 1-cost support, the Thieves Guild. It's an alter ego response. After you resolve your Thief Extraordinaire ability, which is this one over here, exhaust this card, remove 1 threat from a scheme. If this removes the last threat from that scheme, draw 1 card. So it's a little bit not like a guarantee, because you can try to, let's say there's 3 threat left on the side scheme, right? And the 2 cards that you reveal from your Thief Extraordinaire are like a 0 and a 1, right? So it's not guaranteed to end up drawing a card. But still, it's you can remove 1 threat from a scheme still by using this, and then whatever threat from your alter ego. So it still helps, but the draw a card aspect of it isn't guaranteed, right? It's not guaranteed, but that's all right. That's all right. It's still a good card to get out there. It seems like, especially on alter ego side, like I said. So that's pretty cool, and it's pretty cool that it gives you the option of card draw. All right, so Creole Charmer. It's a 2-cost event again for alter ego, which is the most interesting thing about this. Remove 3 threat from a scheme. If this removes the last threat from that scheme, confuse the villain, which is really awesome as well. Anything that stuns and confuses villains, I'm all about. But it's pretty cool, once again, that this is a alter ego action and you're not doing threat removal from your hero side, right? So for solo especially, it's really kind of forcing you down to alter ego. Unless other cards get announced, we don't really know for sure yet. But until then, like, it's kind of forcing you down to thwart, which is a really kind of interesting way of doing this. I really like the approach of what they're doing here. All right, so now we actually get to the Gambit hero size, a 1, 2, 3 hero. You place 1 charge counter on here. We'll get into charge counters because this is kind of like his thing, right? These charge counters. And then when you play an attack event, remove up to 3 charge counters from here. That event deals +1 damage for each counter removed. So it could do up to 3 more damage. His hand size drops to 5. He still has 9 hit points. We'll get into these charge counters, but I think what they're doing with this is pretty interesting. It's going to be kind of a balancing act, which I think will be kind of cool. So a 2-cost event, charged card. It's a hero action. Deal 4 damage to an enemy for this attack. If Gambit's throw D card, which is the when you play an attack event, remove up to 3 charge counters. It's that. For this attack, if Gambit's throw D card ability removed at least 1 counter, this attack gains range. Cool. 2 counters. This attack also gains piercing. 3 counters. This attack also gains overkill. Right. So they stack on top of each other, which is really cool. It's really neat, right? It's kind of cool because now this goes from a 2/4 to a 7 damage, plus range, plus piercing, plus overkill, assuming you have all the counters in which to spend on this and you're, not saving them up for something else. So obviously a good card, assuming you have the counters. And it seems like they're doing this more often than not, where a lot of these X-Men heroes don't have like crazy attack on their cards. Like some do, obviously, but they're focusing more on like, it's a middle of the road attack, but you can charge it up or whatever else to make it stronger, which is a really cool mechanic. I'm happy they're going that direction instead of just the standard, okay, it's a 3/7, 3/8, 3 cost 7 damage or 3 cost 8 damage type card, right? So that's pretty cool. All right, Royal Flush is a pretty interesting card. It's a 3-cost event. Hero action, place 1 charge counter on Gambit, right? So you get 1 charge counter. Deal 0 damage to enemy, deal 0 damage to enemy, deal 0 damage to enemy. So the way that this is working, right, is that you place the charge counter on it. So if you use the charge counter when you play an attack event, remove up to 3 charge counters, that event deals 1 damage for each counter remove, right? So you remove a counter, it could deal 1 damage to an enemy, 1 damage to an enemy, 1 damage to an enemy, or 3, 6, 9 as well, right? So if you removed all 3 counters, it would deal 3 damage to an enemy, 3 damage to an enemy, 3 damage to an enemy. And you can kind of, attack some minions with this. You can put it all on the same enemy, right? It doesn't differentiate. It has to be on different enemies or anything like that. It's pretty cool, right? It's pretty cool way that this works. It's pretty interesting, and I like the idea of this card a lot. It's kind of powerful, to be honest. It's pretty powerful in the way that this would work, assuming you have all your charge counters saved up, right? If you only have like 1, probably 2, it's not even worth it, right? You kind of need to go for all 3 charge counters on it. So it's pretty good, pretty interesting, pretty cool card. All right, Natural Agility is a 0-cost event. When you defend against an event, place 1 charge counter on Gambit, okay? And then for each charge counter on Gambit, you get +1 defense for that attack, which is kind of bonkers, right? Because there is no limit. We'll go back to the hero side. It says place 1 charge counter on here, limit once per round, but there's no limit to it. So if you had 10 charge counters on here, you're looking at like, 10 plus 10 defense plus his base 3, so 13 defense, right, on a 0-cost event. It's really, really cool. It adds charge counters. This is a pretty nutty card, but it's really cool. It's really, really cool what they're doing here with that. So again, it's going to be this little bit of balance that you still want charge counters for cards like this, but then when you want to do your attacks, right, and be more aggressive, then you got to use those charge counters. Now, still have a decent amount of defense for sure, but it's nice to know that there is some balance here, right? You do want to hold on the charge counters to save up a bit for defense. A 1-cost upgrade is Gambit's Guild Armor. After Gambit defends against an attack and takes no damage, exhaust this armor to ready Gambit, right? This is why you want to take no damage, because now you get basically a free ready on Gambit, and it's only a 1-cost upgrade. It's kind of nuts, right? A lot of these cards are kind of nuts with Gambit. But this is why you would want to keep counters on there, right? So when you use the defensive event, you protect completely, you can ready up now, which is pretty cool. And then Molecular Acceleration, it's a hero interrupt. When you spend this card, place 1 charge counter on Gambit, right? So it has 2 energy, so it's basically a double card, a double resource card. And it's another way to gain more charge counters, which you're definitely going to want to do. And then lastly is a signature ally. It's Rogue, which, spoiler alert, it's probably going to be the next hero. It's a 4-cost ally, 2/2/3. Okay. Reduce the cost to play Rogue by 1 for each counter on your identity. You can have 4 counters on your identity, and Rogue is free. Not only that, Rogue comes in with toughness, so it's a free block right off the bat. It's crazy. That's a crazy. I mean, this. If you have 4 counters, this is one of the better signature allies out there for sure. It's really, really cool and really, really good. And it honestly just takes Gambit to kind of another level here. So we'll get into some of the justice cards too, and then the basic cards, because the basic ones are pretty interesting. So Operative Skill, it's a 2-cost upgrade. It uses 3 operative counters, max 1 per player. When you thwart, remove 1 operative counter from here. That thwart removes 1 additional threat. Okay, pretty good, right? Not crazy good, but pretty good. Breaking and Entering, play if only you have Spy or Thief as a trait. Remove 3 counters from a scheme. It's a 2-cost event. Okay, fair enough. That's a decent enough card. 3-cost event, Stealth Strike, right? Deal 4 damage to an enemy. If the enemy is defeated by its attack, remove 2 threat from a scheme. Okay, cool, awesome. This card is nuts. And this card is probably going to be in every single, probably every single X-Men deck, or at least the vast majority of them. The 0-cost event for Mutant Education. You can only do it if you can only play it if you have a mutant trait. Alter Ego action. Choose up to 2 identity-specific cards in your discard pile and shuffle them into your deck. If X-Mansion is in play, draw a card. So, like, not only does this help Gambit a lot, because almost everyone should probably have X-Mansion in their deck, most likely. But not only does this help Gambit, but this helps people like Cyclops too, right? This card is going to help a lot of different heroes with their identity-specific cards that they really want to lean into. This is a bonkers card. It's an absolutely bonkers card. And Beauty and the Thief is a Gambit Rogue team-up card. Deal 4 damage to an enemy. Remove 4 threat from the scheme for a 2-cost event. That's really strong. That's a really strong card. Then we get the Exodus, which is a what is it called? The modular set for this. So they're adding modular sets back in apparently. It's a one scheme, one attack, 6 life acolyte, retaliate 1 villainous, search the encounter deck and discard pile for psionic shield attachment and attach it to Exodus. All right, what's that card that you may be wondering? Psionic shield is terrible. Attached to a minion, otherwise psionic shield gains surge. When attached minion would leave play, instead heal all damage for that minion and put it back into play, then discard this attachment. It gives it +1/+1. This is rapid response for minions, and it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And then also Herald of the Avalon. The player who defeated this scheme is a 1 defeated card, sorry. The player who defeated this scheme searches the encounter deck and discard pile for Exodus and reveals them. Gives you an additional bad card each round. It comes in with 6 threat on it. This is not good. Exodus is going to be a really rough modular set. It's definitely a tough one. It's interesting mechanically, but it's definitely a tough one. That's for sure. All right, so overall, looking at Gambit, he's good. He's good. I mean, he's going to be good most likely. The interesting thing is the one thing that did not announce in this was his obligation or his nemesis. I am going to guess that at the very least, his obligation is going to remove a few of your charge counters, right? Because this is going to be what Gambit's all about. Getting those charge counters, balancing them out a little bit, using it for defense and maybe other things because we only saw a handful of his cards. Use them for defense, other things, and then finally saving up for those big attacks, right? Where Gambit can either do a lot to either just one enemy or several different enemies, right? So I'm going to assume his obligation does that, and most likely I'm going to guess his nemesis does that a little bit, at least to some point, messing with his charge counters. But yeah, what's to me the most interesting thing about Gambit is that it seems like he's going to be really good for solo. My biggest gripe, I guess, problem, issue, I don't really know, but my biggest worry with most of the X-Men heroes, with the exception of probably Wolverine and maybe Storm, depending on how she actually works in the end, is that they're not really geared for solo. And that's okay. Like, thematically, it makes sense. The X-Men should work together as a group, but Gambit being able to work on his own in solo kind of does make sense, right? Thematically. And it seems like they're really leaning into this. And I have to say that at the very least for all these X-Men heroes is that they are leaning into theme for the most part, pretty hard and pretty well. There's a couple of times when I think they missed it theme-wise, but for the most part, it's been pretty good. But Gambit, I gotta say, it looks really cool. It looks fun. Like, it looks like a fun game you're playing. I like the idea of the charge counters. I like what they're doing with him overall. I love that they're exploring more with the alter ego side, especially for solo players, right? Because for us, it feels like it's a burden to flip down. And like kind of this weird necessary thing we have to do, and then we have to play Justice to do it ever for solo gaming. So they start him off in Justice. I could see him working on most aspects, if not all, because of his alter ego ability to thwart basically on command, right? At least twice when you flip down, right? So the first time you flip down, then the villain goes, then before you flip up, thwarting again. So I think that's really cool. So personally, this and Wolverine are probably my 2 most excited X-Men so far. Storm might be. Storm, there's just a lot of question marks around because until I actually play it, I won't fully know how her mechanics work and how well they work together and whatnot. But this one, again, it'll be interesting to see how the balance of the counters work. It'll be interesting to see how his obligation works and how his nemesis works. But from just the glances that we see so far, I think it's really cool. I think it's a cool thing that they're doing here. And yeah, I'm pretty excited. So before we get it, do me a huge favor, scroll down, hit like, hit subscribe. Let me know your thoughts. Are you excited for Gambit? Are you worried about the counters? Or what do you think the obligations could be? Whatever you want, just put it down below and let's talk about it a bit. And if you want to support this channel, hit the join button down below. It has different tier memberships starting at 99 cents. And anything that you decide to do really helps the channel and really helps me out. And yeah, I'm pretty hyped for Gambit. I'm not gonna lie. So I'll see you all for the next video.